Hello, and welcome to Live Parkinson's, Live an Exceptional Life. I'm your host, Chris Custenbotter, and I've been living with Parkinson's for the past 13 years. The mission of this podcast is to help as many people living with Parkinson's and their families live an exceptional life. This week in the United States, we're celebrating Thanksgiving, so I wanted to share a story with you on gratitude, Thanksgiving, and positivity. So the topic of this podcast is called Gratitude, a powerful story of Thanksgiving and positivity. And it's about my friend Scott Conkle, who's been my friend for the past 50 years. In fact, we met in middle school. And it's a rare thing these days to have a friend that's been around for 50 years. So we're great friends, both with Scott and his family. In fact, Scott is one of the heroes I talk about in my book, Spectacular Life, 4 Strategies for Living with Parkinson's Disease, My Journey to Happiness, which is available on Amazon. But I talk about Scott as being one of my heroes. Scott has a genetic condition called atrial fibrillation, where his heart beats faster than it should and beats out of rhythm. And some of the complications of having this condition is it can cause people to have strokes. So Scott's undergone several heart procedures to try to correct the problem and wasn't able to adequately do that. So this past Friday, he underwent newer type of surgery to help correct the problem, where they actually burn some of the cells in his heart to help control the atrial fibrillation. And then he was to go back in 30 days to have an additional surgery. Hopefully then he'll be able to live a normal life without atrial fibrillation. So on Friday, Scott had the surgery. And when he came out of the surgery, he was having a little trouble breathing. So he wore a mask where they provided oxygen through the mask so he could sleep well that evening. And the next day, Saturday, they were going to take the mask off and give him oxygen through nasal pillows to help him breathe, and then eventually wean him off the oxygen so that he could go home after another day or so. Unfortunately, on Saturday, when they tried to take the mask off, he was still having some difficulty breathing. And after several attempts, they decided to wait until Sunday. And so there was several issues that critical care doctor talked about to try to correct the problem and to get Scott off of the wearing the mask and then be able to breathe on his own again and hopefully overcome the breathing issue. So I went and visited with Lisa, his wife, and then we went to the hospital to visit Scott. And, for those that know me, I'm a little bit of a clown and I like to joke around and especially have fun with Scott. And so it's not fun being a patient in the hospital, and it's not any fun as well if you're having issues. So I decided to try to cheer Scott up, and I talked about positivity and, positivity ladder and pushing negative energy out of the way and embracing things. And then the other thing we looked at is talked about how things were going. We talked about his family and kids and talked about going home for Thanksgiving. And then I happened to look up on the board where they have the list of doctors and contacts and things, and there was a section there that said goals. And I said to Scott, let's try to have some goals because we want to get you off of the mask. And so we set 2 goals. One was to get the mask off and be able to breathe through the nasal pillows, and then eventually wean off of the mask and be able to go home for Thanksgiving. So when the 2 nurses came in, great nurses, they were caring, great sense of humor, great bedside manner. And I said to the nurses, Scott set 2 goals, ask them what they are. And Scott told them again what they were, that he wanted to be able to get the mask off and breathe on his own and be able to go home. And so they said, well, why don't we sit you up in the chair and see how you do? So we got Scott out of the bed and he was able to walk around for a little bit. And the nurses said, hey, wow, your oxygen, your pulse, and your blood pressure are very good. Let's talk to the doctor and see if we can try to take the mask off and see how you do. And Scott agreed, but we could tell he was a little bit apprehensive, and which is common. I mean, we would all be anxious if we were in the situation Scott was in, where you've had some difficulty breathing and the mask is helping you breathe. So to help alleviate the anxiety, we talked about, Scott going home for Christmas. We talked about focusing and talked about positivity, focusing on having a nice, calm mental state, breathing, imagining yourself being able to breathe, thinking positive thoughts, and just helping to calm his body down so that when they did take the mask off, he would be able to hopefully breathe on his own. So when the time came, they took the mask off, and I noticed that Scott was being his friend for a long time. I noticed that he was getting a little anxious. So they took the mask off and put the nose pillows on with some oxygen, and Scott began to breathe, and he was doing really well. And what we reinforced was, Scott, your pulse looks good, your oxygen level is awesome, and we kept reinforcing what a great job he was doing, and you could see he began to relax, and he was doing a great job breathing. But the more we reinforce the positive of, your oxygen levels look great, your kids are going to be so proud of you, you're going to be able to go home for Thanksgiving and eat Thanksgiving dinner with your family, and able to focus on just everything positive in his life. He was able to calm down, and his breathing was, he was able to successfully breathe through the nose pillows and didn't have to return to the mask. And then Scott's a fire chief at the local volunteer fire department, and one of the paramedics that went through paramedic school at Scott's station stopped in to visit. And just at the particular time, Scott got his mask off as well, and we all began just to talk about different things. And pretty soon we noticed Scott was really relaxed and breathing on his own. And it was just such a great feeling to see someone that had struggles, but was able to use a positive attitude, set goals, and be able to achieve his goal, his first goal of getting the mask off. Scott's son, Josh, stopped in later in the evening, and his wife, Lisa, and then his daughter, Janelle, called in on the phone. And Scott was able to eat dinner for the first time in almost 3 days, 2.5 days. I called him and talked to him and his son Josh, and Scott was enjoying some meatloaf and some fruit. So it was just a great feeling in my heart to be able to see your best friend that was having some struggles and able to overcome those struggles and just overcome the challenges and succeed in his goal. So the reason I wanted to bring this story up is that it reinforced in me three concepts: gratitude, appreciating what you have in life, even the small things. And while wasn't a small thing, it was a big thing, but it reinforced that a lot of times we don't appreciate some of the things that we have in life. And this gave me the opportunity to step back again and just say, I'm grateful for all the blessings that I have in my life, my family and my friends, and the ability to do this podcast and hopefully help all of you out there as well. The other thing it taught me was, when you're able to set goals, focus on your goals, and just have a total focus and vision on achieving your goal, you can accomplish anything that you set out to do. It was just another reinforcement of that. So goal setting was another big one. And then the other part was thankful. When you're looking at your friend in a situation where you're concerned for his health and everything goes well, you're thankful when things turn out well. And it's a great feeling when you can be thankful when your prayers are answered, and you can look at how he's able to interact with his family and hopefully leave the hospital tomorrow, 2 days before Thanksgiving, hopefully, and be able to spend time with his family. So it's time of year when you can give thanks and be blessed and enjoy the things that you have in life. So I wanted to share this story, and hopefully you can take a moment or two out of your lives and write down some things that you're grateful for, and what are you thankful for, and hopefully that'll help alleviate any anxieties and sense of isolation that you have, and give you hope and allow you to enjoy time with your friends and family. So I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and I want to thank you for being a listener. I'm grateful for everybody, and thankful that people are tuning into the podcast, and hopefully I'm able to help people live a great quality of life. And hopefully you all set goals, and as we move forward into the new year, but set goals and just be thankful for what you have. So I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, whether you're here in the United States or elsewhere in the world. I want to thank you again for tuning into this podcast and being part of the podcast audience, and pay it forward and go out and help as many people as you can. So as I close, I would ask that you would visit my website, liveparkinsons.com, and sign up for the free newsletter, because I try to provide a lot of helpful information in there that can help you live a great quality of life. And if you're interested in my 4 strategies for living an exceptional life with Parkinson's, my book is available on Amazon. It's called A Spectacular Life, 4 Strategies for Living with Parkinson's, My Journey to Happiness. And I have to say that I live a positive life and I live a happy life. And Parkinson's is along for the ride. It's not, I have Parkinson's, but it's not who I am. And I hope you look at it that way as well. So thanks again. And I hope to see you on future podcasts.